Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Project CD Chronicles, or welcome if it's your first time. We start the video with this more than iconic image. The Alesia 1200 is a new ITX motherboard that effectively recreates the Amiga 1200 AGA in a compact format. If you're interested in this kind of video, we'll go and see some previews. The product is clearly not physically available. Full compatibility with modern functions is promised, and it's a project that will be implemented from 2025 onwards. Clearly, this project is in the making. It is not yet available for the masses, but it is being made and shown, but we will only see some images because I will leave you the link as a preview in the development of Mr. Ambers Anderson, especially members of the Amiga community. But let's go and see a few more additional details. Obviously, we return to the EnterLogic site, as we usually do, but we also refer to the manual for further details, and in particular to the Oasis site, which shows us exactly what is a truly rich and informative article on this Amiga preview that we will go through together right now. Let's briefly return to the EnterLogic website, which is a platform we are all quite familiar with. And for those who don't know, what exactly is the Liège 1200? The Liège 1200 is a mini ITX board, which means it is a type of motherboard. It faithfully reproduces the Amiga 1200 motherboard, but does so in a much more modern and compact format. It's basically a format of what the Mini-TX are, so we can fit it into our AGA compatible motherboards in a few centimeters, so to speak, so it maintains full compatibility with the original chipset. This project, in reality, and you can see it here on the website, is old. So it was born years ago. So it was born over 10 years ago. And if you remember, and we can see it later, and I recommend you go to Oasis PBS because it's a really well written article years ago with what was called Liza, or Lisa as we call it. It evolved thanks to the success of the Denise project, Denise Emulator 2, I remind you, which among other things makes both Commodore and Amiga. The integrated functions of this Mini-TX card are, quite obviously, a PCMCA slot that is specifically designed for the motherboard, a dedicated video slot that is substantially similar in design and function to that of the Amiga 4000, and it also features internal double scan support for enhanced video capabilities. In addition to these, there are the Tornado slots, which are included for further expandability, therefore providing local expansion options for the 3000, 4000 clock ports, and some additional features that allow for even greater flexibility and compatibility with a range of hardware configurations. An internal ATX connector. But anyway, this is all data we can also retrieve from the PDF, which we might look at more specifically later. So a standard ATX connector and the original RAM circuits. In addition, we have three separate microcontrollers for the keyboard, the ROMs, and power management. Looking at other sites, it's not about actual availability in 2025, but according to reliable sources like Amatopia and Generation Amiga, this year, in 2025, the 1200 will essentially be presented as a working hardware project. And indeed, it's shown in this video from Shu's Workbench on YouTube. I'll leave the link in the description and I recommend you go watch it. It's not actually commercially distributed yet. In fact, it's still a project in the prototyping phase, and in this particular case, a presentation to the community. And clearly, you have to leave a like here. What is the problem, essentially? You see the Alesia here with these projects, because there have been other projects as well, and in parallel, like Retro Gamer and others, they have had. And here I'll hold off on confirming, but there are indeed problems. They've had legal issues and delays. So in fact, for these very reasons, the actual availability to the public depends on production, future distribution, and of course, resolving the various disputes. Obviously, here is the quick look of the Alesia 1200 AGA Mini ITX. Clearly go watch the video because there's also the full description. The Oasis BBS says, looks incredible. And it really is. I obviously can't show it all to you. I'm just showing you some images, but the author of the video, and especially as I was saying regarding the Oasis BBS, has, let's say, a very detailed description of what the product actually is. Alicia 1200 Mini ITX Amiga Preview. Let's also browse this other article, Mini ITX Rebirth of the Amiga 1200. Obviously, it's a very brief translation of the article. Essentially, it says Alicia 1200, the Amiga community never sleeps. And in fact, the Amiga itself, particularly the Amiga 1200, is experiencing a rebirth. It's not just an empty abstract concept, but just as I mentioned before, a team, in this case 2 Swedes, are in fact surprising the world with the presentation of their Alicia 1200 motherboard. And as I mentioned before, just to clarify, this is a careful recreation of the Mini ITX format. I'll reiterate once again what I've already said about the AGA mainboard of the Amiga 1200 to ensure and offer full compatibility with the original chipset. But essentially, all of this is achieved in a much more compact and space-saving format. This Mini ITX project, in fact, gives back, and I'm quoting the words from the article, another life to the iconic 1200, transforming it into a modern and compact system, but be careful without losing its authenticity. So we can sum up the article in one word: fantastic. Okay, I won't say any more. We can move on to the Alicia 1200 manual, but I've actually already told you a lot of the information. I can repeat it for you as I scroll through this manual. Video slot, a video slot similar to the one on the Amiga 4000, which supports all digital signals. Obviously, it's given a series of expansion options. We've already talked about the Tornado slot, more technical details, local bus, clock port. Importantly, it has a highly modular design because it actually, in fact, uses 3 separate microcontrollers for the keyboard, the ROM, and power management, creating a modular architecture. Again, and these are technical details, well, the format is compact anyway. The board, I'll say it again, we can see it better here with all its technical features. It's been in development for over a decade now. It's presented in the video I showed you earlier, and in fact, these are its features. There are, of course, the articles that I previously showed you because there is strong and enthusiastic feedback for this project, which will be made available to the Amiga community. Let's remember that the Alicia 1200 is not just a concept, with Stefan Nordlander and Mr. Anderson involved in its development through Enterlogic. I just did a little video editing magic because I wanted to show you this. I'll repeat for clarity. The Alicia 1200 is not simply a concept, but rather a project that is actually being made available to the Amiga community with the involvement of both Stefan Nordlander and Mr. Anderson. They're also associated with AMI West, a premier Amiga-focused show in North America that serves as a major gathering for enthusiasts and professionals interested in the Amiga computer platform, highlighting the event's importance within the community. All right, I'll finish with this last image, because the design should essentially be based on the original and iconic Amiga 1200 computer. Also to honor and pay tribute to its important legacy and to reintroduce it essentially into the modern era of technology and computing. Obviously, there are then numerous design ideas and so on, but these are all details that will be looked at during the implementation. All right, let's end it here. Alicia 1200, welcome back Amiga 1200 to the modern era, and we can't wait to physically have it in our hands. Thanks everyone, Claudio.